If you want to get started 4K video editing and you have no clue where to buy or which parts to buy for your build, you may have just clicked on the absolute perfect video. Today, I'm going to give you guys 2 parts lists that you guys can use to put together a PC capable of editing that crisp 4K footage. The first will be about $625 and the second for about $800. All right, let's get to it. Hey, what's up guys? Brian here. On this channel, we mostly focus on PC builds and tech reviews, so if you are new here, consider subscribing. And feel free to check out the description box below for any related links that I may be talking about today in this video. Today, as I have already told you, we are going to talk about 2 different builds that will be perfect for getting you started with 4K video editing and even some 1080p gaming if that's something that you're interested in as well. Keep in mind that prices are constantly changing, so the parts lists totals could go up or down depending on when you are watching this video. Now, my goal for this video is for it to be rather quick, so I won't be going through each component, each individual component in each build. Rather, I will be going over some very important details that you need to know about each build before you go out and drop your money on them. So be sure to watch this entire video because it has that extra really important information. Starting with the $625 build, we have a few things we need to go over. The first is the fact that we'll be using the 6-core Ryzen 5 1600 processor, not the 2600 or the 3600, the 1600. And this is because on Amazon right now you can get it for about $85, which is a killer of a deal. Now, if for some reason this chip is unavailable, you can go out and grab the 2600 for about $120, so you end up having to spend like $35 more, but it's still, you know, a solid deal. You also need to know that there's a new AF model version of the 1600 chip. Make sure you're grabbing one of the AF ones and not the original AE models. I'm going to be dropping a link in the description box below to an article talking all about these new Ryzen 5 1600 chips. Basically, the reason why you want this chip is because it looks like it's being made on the newer Zen Plus architect. That's actually what the 2000 series was made on, rather than the original Zen architect. In normal terms, basically what that means is, so if you're not familiar with PC components and stuff like that, basically that just means that it's going to be faster and more efficient than the original 1600, if it turns out to be true. If it's not, then you're still getting a really good CPU for a really good price, so it's still a great deal. The second thing I wanted to talk about on the $625 build is the motherboard. And if you've watched any of my series on how to build a PC, you probably already know that I hate skimping on motherboards. And to pack this much performance into such a low budget, you kind of do have to make cuts. So I went with a board that is pretty solid. It's really good, but it won't give you too much of an upgrade path, and it will limit you on some of the things that you can do with it. Again, you'll definitely be able to upgrade it to like an 8-core 16-thread processor in the future if you decide you want to, but I definitely wouldn't recommend putting one of the newer 12 cores or 13-core processors on this board at all. I also wouldn't recommend overclocking on this board either. The last thing I want to mention about this board is that it only has 2 memory slots. And for gamers, this isn't a big deal because 16 gigs of memory is perfectly, it's plenty for a gamer. But when it comes to a video editor, this could potentially be restricting down the line. I mean, I always recommend 32 gigs of memory for anybody who's going to be video editing, but as long as you don't dive too deeply into motion graphics, you'll probably be fine with 16 gigs. The true problem starts once you kind of, you start video editing and then you decide you want to get into the motion graphics or you want to expand your build, and then all of a sudden now you have to just replace the 16 gigs that you put, or 16 gigs of RAM that you put in there, rather than just adding RAM to it. So it's going to cost you more money in the future. Now, to solve this issue, what you could do is drop the hard drive that's in this build and go out and get a better motherboard such as the MSI B450 Tomahawk. You can always get the drive later, so you know, if you find you need it later, then you can go out and grab it. Again, as I just said, it will limit your archiving capabilities, but it's a great option if you know you're going to be doing motion graphics or something similar in the future. Moving on to the $800 build, there's really only two things I want to mention on it. First off, as I mentioned before, if you aren't doing heavy motion graphics, you can save like $50 by dropping down to 16 gigs of memory rather than, you know, going with the 32 gig kit that I recommended in this build. You can always add memory later, so that's always fine. If you need any recommendations on 16 gig kits, let me know in the comments below, and I can give you some recommendations. The second thing I would like to mention is, again, if you need to save a little bit more money, you can also drop the hard drive temporarily and get it later. This will actually bring the total price for your whole build actually down below $700. Also keep in mind that on both parts lists, I have a straight price of $30 for Windows. And so if you're interested in how to get that actual, like a cheaper Windows, which you can probably get for around $20 now, but I put 30 just to be, you know, to be safe. You can check out the description box below. I will have a link that shows you how to get a cheap Windows. Go ahead and take a look at all the parts, or both the parts lists that I mentioned today. And then if you have any questions, let me know in the comments below. If you found this video helpful, then be sure to hit that like button and subscribe so you don't miss out on future content just like this. Thank you so much for watching today. And now I think I'm gonna go drink a pot of coffee.